But it is crazy. The fact that we are going to like one day visit other planets. But that begs the question if we can survive till the end of this year. My God. My God. Ever like just I think to myself when I look at society now and I think, has it always kind of been like this, or is it just in our faces a lot more? I don't think so. At least from my time of being here on this earth from 1999 to 2020, I don't ever remember something this crazy happening. Just with everything going on, all the protests, all of the rioting, all of the general anger. It's another ball game. So it's like, shoot, like, I love to go to Mars, but, you know, it's like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, you know? Oh my gosh. The thing is that when I myself watch the media, it gives off the portraying, I don't know what word to use, but it portrays it as if like these protests and these riots are just abundant, like everywhere, to the point where you could, you know, from that perspective, watching whatever show, you could be like, oh, I could see the world falling apart right now. But that begs the question, is it really that bad? And I don't think it is. I think that the United States, if we're just talking specifically, the United States is a very big place with a lot of cities in it. And I don't think it's that bad everywhere in the United States where we would have to consider civil war. I just think it's what is the word? The loud few. It's just so interesting watching, because I live in El Paso, and it's, you know, it's a relatively big city. I'd say like the way that I see it, I'm pulling this out of my ass, but I could see it being like 6/10 of the size of like Austin or Dallas or one of those big cities. But that I could be so wrong. I don't know. Point is that it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and all that mainstream stuff doesn't really get out here. But when the George Floyd shooting happened, like that just, it's like there was already gasoline on top of a pile of wood, and the George Floyd shooting was the match. You know, that's when it really felt like things just like to start this year off. We thought we were going to go to war with, what was it? I believe Iran or Iraq. I believe more so it was Iran, but it could have been. That was sketchy, you know? And then, you know, a month goes in, it's like February. Oh, we're starting to hear about this virus in China, you know? Nothing to worry about quite yet, you know, it's just in China, but and as an American, you're like, oh, dude, look, there's this freaking virus in China. That's crazy. You're like, yeah. And then you move on with your day. And then you hear that it starts spreading. And at that point, it's like, okay, this isn't just something we just saw on the news one day. We aren't gonna, and we're not, and it's not, and we're not gonna keep seeing it. When I saw that it was starting to spread to other countries, that was the oh shit moment, you know, like, oh. and then I remember hearing about the first, because we had been hearing about the virus for like a month or 2 months. I don't know, whatever. And then all of a sudden, I remember hearing that they had the first case in the United States. And before we had our first case in the United States, we were already seeing other countries kind of starting to go through the virus. And so from an American standpoint, it's like, oh fuck, we're next, huh? Shit. And then I remember when the first case happened, it was like, all right, dear everybody in America, I'm just going to let you know that you're on a roller coaster now and you can't get off, and we're going to start it now. And that roller coaster just went whoosh. And I don't think that roller coaster has stopped. In terms of the rioting and the violence, I don't believe that it's gotten worse. I think obviously there are an abundance of riots and protests that still currently go on. But I would say that it is not to the extent that it was at during the George Floyd situation. Because during the George Floyd situation, that was something else. I think the George Floyd thing, and then for like the next 2 weeks, you know, because it felt like it really lasted like that. Excuse me. Because, you know, like on the day of something happening, like a big world event, on the day it happens, that's usually like the biggest day, you know, for it, media coverage wise. Like if there's a shooting, if there's a bombing, it's usually on that first day when the media, you know, everyone is talking about it. And then from there, you know, it starts simmering down. But with the George Floyd thing, it seemed like that it was at that same extent, it was at that same level of magnitude for like, you know, relatively speaking, for like, realistically, I want to say 2 weeks, but we'll say, to be a little more realistic, because I'm not too sure, let's say a week, maybe even 5 days. But during, let's say, those 5 days, oh my gosh. It was like the world is... This is getting a little scary. Getting a little scary. My friend, I was looking for the term when we were talking about this, and he's called it, you know, the snowball. And I really liked it because, you know, it really is, at that time period, it really felt like a snowball effect. If we're especially starting from January, like if you say, so let's just say it was December, you know, 31st, 2019, and then, you know, midnight strikes, and, you know, whatever you want to call it, something. Let's just say Carl Wheezer from Jimmy Neutron. He's like, oh, I'm about to fuck these guys up. And he's just on the top of a hill, you know? So it's a snowy hill. He just gets a little snowball. He's like, haha, fuck you. And he just drops the snowball. And it's just been Iran, coronavirus, everything. That was a horrible impression of Carl Wheezer. I could have done like Elmo or Kermit the Frog. I could have been like, I'm gonna kick down this snowball and you guys are fucked, and I'm gonna go with Miss Piggy and we're gonna be like, haha, and we're gonna go hang out with Jeffrey Epstein and he's gonna show us, he says that he has really good masseuses. Miss Piggy told me we should probably not trust him, but I went, it's okay. And yeah. 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 But what do I know?